Hi there, everyone! Welcome back to the ABCs of RPGs, where we teach you the basics of tabletop role-playing games. Welcome to a very special edition where we're reviewing kind of like the last adventure we just went on, The Edge of Darkness for Call of Cthulhu, as well as kind of like going over the chase rules for Call of Cthulhu, because we messed up them a little bit earlier, but we're going to go through them today. But before we get any further, my name's Spencer, I am the Keeper of Arcane Lore, and I'm joined by my players... Dan.
What's up, everyone? I'm Dan, and Spencer is not the keeper of arcane lore. He is Babe.
Hi guys, I'm Ashley. My pronouns are she, her. I played a character named Irene Whitmore in the Call of Cthulhu campaign, and she was fun to play. I enjoyed it overall, but we'll get more into that. And then last but not least, we have Christian.
Hello, my name is Christian, and my pronouns are he, him. I played Butcher Blevins. Butcher was his first name, I know. Pretty on point. And yeah, it was definitely fun. I missed out on the first session, so a bit of role-playing there, but yeah, I'm hoping to take this character on another adventure if we get to.
Ooh, yeah. So, our main guy, Dalton, isn't here today, so I am testing the audio right now, which is why I have my cell phone right next to my face, and I think our audio's okay, but if there's any issues throughout the stream, please drop it in the chat. We will see it on stream, so appreciate your patience while we kind of work through this and make sure everything sounds good. So, but yeah, without further ado, we can hop right into kind of like the chase rules and everything. Are you guys listening to the stream as well to make sure it sounds good?
Yeah, I was going on to it.
If you'd like, what we could do is we could start off with our get to know you question for all of our characters, like we usually do, just to kind of start off the bat, and then we can roll right into it. So, does anybody want to roll me a D250?
Oh.
Nose goes.
Christian!
I'm sorry. I
For
don't
me, as a side note, for
Yeah.
me, when I'm have Twitch pulled up,
Yeah.
I don't see anybody's video.
Oh,
Yeah, it is
no.
on now.
They're all black
I
squares.
fixed it for one, and I didn't fix it for the other. So, okay. Well, while you guys are gonna be looking up the stuff, let me fix the video real quick in here.
Yeah, yep. Because when you go to the new screen is when it.
Yep.
Christian, you roll that D20 or 250.
Okay.
Wow, my whole face.
Yep.
That's cool.
I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to get it.
40.
40?
That's
Okay.
pretty good roll for 250.
Yeah.
That is. I feel like you would have succeeded on that skill check.
Yeah. If it was out of 240 or 250, yeah, definitely. Okay.
I still can't see anybody's face except for
I know,
yours.
Ash, I'm fixing it.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to the question. So
You're doing great, babe.
Thank you. The question is, what is there one job you'd never, ever do?
Ooh. It's a good question.
I will never work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car again. Never again.
Did they have rental car businesses in the 20s?
Of course. It's Rent a Horse.
No, what was the first rental car? Wasn't Enterprise the first?
It was one of the first for sure.
And it was like 50-something.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until the 50s. Fuck.
Okay, there. I'll make
Gravedigger. Yeah, I'd never do that.
Never be a gravedigger?
Yeah, I'd never be a gravedigger.
That's a good one. Now, is this... Well, I guess Dan in 1920s and Dan you now is one the same. So both would be the same answer, right?
Yeah.
That's funny. Irene, the cop out answer is any job because she does not have a job. Um, but really, it would be anything where she'd get dirty, menial. Meat packing, not her thing. So, as much as she likes Butcher, she would never work for him.
Not her bag, man.
Hmm. I think with Butcher, um, I think Butcher would be fine with, the dirty jobs because that is something that Butcher's used to.
Yeah.
But and with owning his own storefront, his own business, I think Butcher would have a hard time enjoying the office life,
Yeah, I
working
think so.
under a boss and working in a clean environment. It's just
And having to
something
wear like a
very
suit
different.
and tie.
Yeah,
Like,
you know, he
how,
likes to get down and dirty.
so you think of like, I think of like Upton Sinclair in the jungle and all of that nastiness when I think of
Mm,
like meat packing and butchering back in the
yeah.
day. Like, how sanitary is Butcher's Butcher Shop? Are there rats in the sausage?
Uh, it's definitely not great. I mean,
It's not up to code.
he's done some work in the back rooms with some otherworldly corpses. So,
Oh my gosh.
who knows what's
The Eldritch
that's
Special.
all. So yeah, I mean, rats are like that's premium meat
Nice.
compared.
It's from this plane.
Yeah, it's from this flight, right? Like, um, that's funny. It's like, yeah, maybe there's exotic specials you could include. It's,
Here
it's
we've got
funny.
this nice tentacle from Cthulhu himself.
No, just make up a name. Just go like, and that's like that's a thing.
No.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing now.
Totally a thing now.
Definitely does not cause madness upon consumption.
No, no.
Would
No.
never.
If anything, it just draws out the madness that was already there.
Mm.
Calamari.
So Dan, you said grave digging. Irene Irene said no meat packing.
Anything like blue collar getting dirty, but meat packing was like the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah. And then Butcher can't hold an office job. No suit and tie for him.
Yeah.
What about you, Arcane Keeper of Lore?
Oh, if I was in 1920s? Yeah, when you said the zoo, I was immediately like, "Oh my gosh." Like if I was in 1920s, I feel like I'd get like stuck doing like meat packing or working in some sort of factory. Maybe a mine. Maybe I would like be like shoved down in a mine and I would hate that. I'd
Ooh,
be
you're
like,
nice and skinny.
What?
That'd be good for you.
I had
That's true.
asthma when I was younger. I feel like
That's
I'd get
That's
black
also
lung.
true.
I'd cough up my lungs before I was 25.
working
Yeah,
it on an
you'd cough
oil
them up
rig.
at 15 because they'd put you in the mines at 8.
An oil rig, you said, Christian?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That would be pretty rough as well.
Yeah.
But better on your lungs, I guess you'd just be dirty all around.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so we had a little bit of a chase scene in Edge of Darkness where basically it was supposed to be like Butcher was tailing the party, and then they got in their car and they kind of zoomed off and stuff like that. And I didn't do it correctly, so I want to make sure that we kind of like I'm able to kind of explain the rules because I think the chase rules are pretty cool. Just like a lot of like Call of Cthulhu, it seems complicated at first, but once like everything is put together, it kind of Makes sense. So I'll kind of like put all this together and kind of explain to you kind of how this works. So let's do a hypothetical scenario where you guys are being tailed by a goon.
A what?
A goon.
What's that?
Just a
Just a hoodlum, a gangster.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a type of monster.
nope, it's
Either way.
yeah. A human monster, but a monster nonetheless.
A henchman, right?
Henchman,
Like
yes.
a hired man.
Hired man. So let's say like you guys were we were at a location. Like let's say you're at the library, right? So you're at the library and like you start to leave and some goon starts to tail you. And you start running away, right? So that initiates the chase because this goon's coming after you. And you guys are trying to get away. So the first thing we start off with is we even see if there's a chase in place. Because if you guys are all faster than what this goon can go, then there's going to be no chase. Which is pretty cool, because it rewards you for being quick and fast characters. So the first thing we're going to look at is everybody got a movement speed at the beginning, if you guys remember. So that's what I have, like, the numbers on the board right here is the different types of speed. We have 8 in the middle, we have 7, and we have 9. And I have 6 and 10 on here because you'll see here in a minute, we might be faster or slower depending on certain rolls. So, does everybody remember what movement speed they were? And can you put your character token above what your movement speed is? And we can look that up if you guys need a refresher. Dan, I think you were a 7, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, mine was like really small.
We'll say you're a 7.
Mine was 9.
Yeah, because you were super fast. Christian, do you remember what Butcher's was?
You said it was move, right?
Yeah, your movement rate.
Yeah, it's 7.
It's 7? Okay, so you're kind of slow too.
Mine was 7.
All right. So I'm moving Dan and Butcher to 7, Irene to 9. We're going to say this goon, he's going to have the average movement rate of 8. But, depending on rolls here, you guys might still escape. So, everybody, go ahead and make a Constitution roll. Because this is going to be like how much you're kind of keeping up if you can kind of last in this kind of running away right now. So everybody is going to make a Constitution roll. Even the goon. And the goon passed his.
Okay.
And just track what type of success you have or failure. And I'll kind of tell you what kind of happens from there.
Yeah. So that's a pretty big fail.
That's a big fail.
Is that a fumble? No, that's one off of a fumble.
Yeah.
It was
No,
a Constitution roll.
Yeah.
Mine is a regular success.
Regular success.
I rolled
okay.
a 43.
43.
I'm
okay.
trying to log into Roll20. I apologize.
It's all right. You roll.
I failed.
So, how this works is on a success for this Constitution roll at the very beginning, your movement rating is normal. So, like, if everybody succeeded, everybody would stay where they're at, which would be Dan and Butcher at 7, the Goon at 8, Irene at 9. If it was an extreme success, everybody who got extreme success would get a +1 movement. So did anybody get an extreme success? I don't think so, right?
No.
Okay, well that's okay. And then on failure, you have a -1 to your move. So, Christian, did you fail as well?
Yep.
Okay.
So I go down to 6.
Yeah, both of you, I'm going to move... Whoops. accidentally grabbed the 7. Yeah, move you guys down to 6. And then, Irene, did you fail?
I had a normal success.
Okay, so you stay at 9. You didn't get an extreme, so you don't go up to 10, but you stay at 9. So you're going to be key in this chase scene. And I'm going to say the goon, he failed his roll, so he's at 7. So, how this kind of works from here is... Ashley, your video is frozen for me, by the way. I don't know what happened.
It's frozen for me, too. I don't know.
Maybe turn on and off the camera.
Okay.
You tried turning it off and then
On
on
again.
again.
Oh, no.
It's surprising.
Maybe unplug the camera and plug it back in?
You tried unplugging it.
Technical difficulty.
It's so funny because
yeah,
I still run into issues with that where I'm like, oh, I think it's more complex of an issue, so I dive into the more complexities.
Yeah,
and I don't think to like I really should just
turn it
restart my
off.
computer or try for updates, and then one of the things fix it. And I'm like, why did I think too hard about this?
Right. So here's how we kind of, so after we do these kind of rolls and we kind of determine like what our speeds are, we do movement. So hold on one second. See locations. Yeah. So from here we give everybody what I'm gonna do is so we give each other movement actions. So how this starts, the easiest way to remember about like, oh, how many movement actions do I get? How fast am I going? All that kind of stuff. The slowest participants get 1 movement action. And from every point higher, they get an additional movement action. So right now, Dan and Butcher, just remember you guys have 1 movement action. And I'll kind of describe what you can do with that here in a second. But you guys have 1. The goon here, because he's 1 ahead of you guys, gets 2 movement action. So he's going to be moving 2 per turn. Possibly, or doing other stuff. He kind of gets to move a little bit quicker because he's doing that. Now Irene is so speedy. She doesn't get 3 movement action. She gets 4.
Damn, son.
Yeah, she's quick. She's going to be hopping all over the place, which kind of makes sense in character because she dances and she's all like kind of like dexterous and stuff like that. So that's okay. The reason why this is set up this way is because it's kind of like making the chase enticing and kind of like setting up the speed, because that's how it would be normally. But let's say, keep all your movement actions and movement in mind for right now. But let's say we were back right here, and let's say both Dan and Butcher got an extreme success. Unlikely, but let's say they did. And the goon...
Unlikely. Sorry.
And the goon failed like he did, right? That would mean that the goon is slower than the slowest, like, it's called pursuers and escapees, I think. I think it's what they're called. Or pursued. But anyways, the pursuers would be, the pursuers would be slower than the slowest person in the party. So that means the chase wouldn't happen. That means you guys escape. That means you guys get away. But because we have this situation where, the goon is faster than both Dan and Butcher, we initiate the chase. Are you guys following along so far? Do you have any questions about that?
So basically, before you even have a chase, you need to determine that a chase even happens, and because Butcher and I are slow, chase is happening.
Boom. That's exactly right, Dan. So, now that you guys have your movement actions, which Butcher and Dan have 1, the goon has 2, Irene has 4. Now, I'm going to arrange you in kind of like on the location. So if you look kind of below, you'll see this kind of like, the same kind of like thing that I made before, when we were doing the chase scene before. And this is where I was getting some things right, some things wrong. So basically, each of these lines represents a location. How the book actually shows it, and by the way, we're on page 132, of the Keeper Handbook, which is an important thing to note because I also got confused. There are the detailed rules and the summary rules. And the detailed rules are at the beginning at page 134, where the summary rules are like back in the end of the book at like page 400 and something. And I was trying to read that, and it does not tell you the details. So please start at page 132 and read through the rules so you kind of understand this. But basically, how the book describes it is it just has dots on like a sheet, and those are the different locations that you guys are going to be traveling to as you're trying to get away from your pursuer. So usually how it starts is the pursuer is about one location behind, or one location behind, or sorry, there's one location between you guys and the pursuer. And Irene's a bit faster, so I'm going to say she's all the way up here. but I'll kind of describe things here in a second. So basically, how I'm setting it up is that we have the pursuer back here at the library, and I'll reveal the locations you guys have been to already. There was at this location like a crossway, like a crossroads. The location that Dan and Butcher are currently at is a narrow alleyway. Uh-oh, OBS got disconnected.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah, your guys' internet is having some issues today, I think.
I don't know what's going on.
Apparently.
Yeah.
We paid for the good shit, too. Okay, we're back live again. So,
Hi again.
Hey everybody, this is why Dalton does it, because obviously he's way better at doing this than I am. So, thank you so much for your patience. I just realized that my camera needs to be adjusted, so I'm adjusting it. Perfect. Okay, cool. Also, I'm going to lower my voice down just a tidge bit, because I think I was a little bit loud. But okay, anyways, we're back at it. Where did we leave off, guys? I think I was saying that, okay. I think I was saying that the goon is 2 locations behind. So he's at the library. Then there is a crossroads between you. And then Dan and Butcher are currently in a narrow alleyway. Irene, as you raced ahead before you started to realize, oh no, I've left my teammates behind, you recognize that at this location here is a locked door that you were able to kind of squeeze in between because you're dexterous and you're skinny.
Oh, teeny tiny?
Yeah. Or if you have a different reason why you were able to get through. And you're at this location, which is a warehouse. So you're kind of like among you like stopped and you got behind some barrels and crates. You're like, wait a second, oh crap, I left them behind. So, but it's gonna be very good that you have so many movement points that even though you're way ahead, you're gonna be just fine because here's what you guys can do. So essentially, we're gonna go in order of our dexterity, just like everything else. So let me add in the goon here. I'm going to say he has a 60 dexterity. So he's going to go in between Irene and you guys. But basically, you guys know that your amount of actions you have per turn. Here's what you can do per turn. Basically, you can move forward in the chase, meaning you guys can go to the location. You guys are currently in the narrow alleyway. You can spend 1 action to move forward to go to the locked door location, which probably what you guys are going to be doing the whole time is just trying to use your 1 action to get ahead as far as you can, which makes sense. But you can also initiate 1 attack using the fighting, firearms, or drive auto skill. You can cast a spell, or you can perform some other action requiring time. If, for example, a dice roll or picking a lock. Now, I'm going to go into details here in a second about hazards and about what some hazards require time and what don't, but we'll get to that here in a second. So we're at the beginning of the round here, and we're going to start with Irene. So Irene, you have 4 movement movement actions, because you are super quick and super speedy. So you're all the way at the front here, but you remember that there's a locked door in between you and Dan and Butcher in the narrow alleyway. So
Can I try to open the door?
Sure can. So what you can do is you can spend 1 movement action to go back to the locked door location. Then you can spend a movement action to try to lockpick it.
I would like to do that.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
we lost Christian.
So, when I'm in Roll20,
yeah,
I am on the screen where we were at the end with the property.
I didn't drag you guys to this. Sorry. Here we go. Now you should be in the right location.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Oh no, all our screens are off. We are just having a technical difficulty day. That's why Marvin, our technician, Dalton can't leave. Dalton can't leave because stuff like this happens. Dalton can't leave. Are you okay, Christian?
Yeah, the entire Discord froze. Twitch was, I was seeing you guys, I was seeing myself frozen, seeing you guys talk away.
Yeah.
Discord was totally froze for me, so I'm sorry.
It's a day.
No, it's fine.
It's a day. It's alright. So Irene.
So do I need to move Irene back to spot 9 then?
Yes, please. Oh, sorry, the numbers don't correlate with the locations. You can just refer to them as, like, the locked door location, essentially. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
I can't move Irene.
Okay. Did you say she's at 9? Do you see, like, the doors in the narrow alleyway that's below everything?
Yes. But, yes, you moved her to where I wanted her to be.
Okay, cool. So she's there. Yes. So go ahead.
So that's 1, and then I need to pick the lock.
Or, just let you know, there's a variety of different ways. A hazard is just a hazard. Just because of the locked door, you can use lockpicking. You can try to smash it down. You can do all sorts of different stuff, whatever you like to do.
Okay. I can't dance it down. I can't charm it down. I can't pay for it to go down. I can't dodge it down.
Yeah.
I can't convince it to go down. I could shoot it.
You could. You could shoot the lock.
I could shoot the lock.
Yeah, shoot the lock.
That seems like the only thing I can do. So that would be rolling. That is barely a success for me, but it is a success.
Okay, perfect. Cool. All right. You shoot the lock and the lock explodes. The door swings wide open. So it's going to be wide open for your friends, Dan and Butcher. But also, if the goon follows in close behind, he'll be able to get through the door as well. So
I used 2 of my 4 movement points.
You did. Yeah, you did.
So can I look for something to barricade the door after these people come through?
Yeah. Let's see. That's a very good idea. Like, essentially like a door block to kind of like, if they
like a chair, a box, a pallet, something like that to like shove in front of the door.
Yeah, I'm gonna say go ahead and make probably a spot hidden roll.
Okay.
To kind of look for something that's good to use.
I'm gonna push my roll.
All right. So I'm gonna say here's what the conditions are. Okay, if you push it, you are gonna find a chair, but it's gonna be in the warehouse. So you'll have to spend like if you succeed, you find it here. If you fail, you have to go back, spend
to the
warehouse. You basically use 3 movement points. 1 to go back to the warehouse, 1 to grab the chair, 1 to bring it back. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fair. That seems fair.
Yes.
Woo!
You got that chair, and basically, are you just going to be at the ready to close the door and seal it up?
And shove it, like, underneath the handle so he can't open it, yeah.
Perfect.
So I want to, like, stand kind of around the corner with the chair, so as soon as my 2 comrades come through the door, I shove it under.
Perfect. All right, you do so. That's great. So, next up is the goon's turn because his dex is 60. So, he has 2 movement points. So, he's going to move to the crossroads, and then there's no hazards there. So, he's just going to move, and he's going to be where you guys are in the narrow alleyway. But he's all out of movement points. So, he can't attack. He can't do nothing like that. He's just in the narrow alleyway. Like, maybe you guys are halfway through and he's like at the back or something like that, you know? So, then we're going to get to Butcher. So, Butcher, what are you going to do this turn with your 1 movement action?
Right, I'm running.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to that door.
Cool. So, there are 2 types of hazards that I like to think of. You know, the Keeper Handbook doesn't really go into it, but I like to think that there are hazards that take time, like a movement action to do, and there are hazards just to go through stuff it's just an automatic roll, doesn't cost any other movement. So I'm going to say, because it's a narrow alleyway, go ahead and make a dexterity check to kind of navigate through this kind of narrow alleyway without it slowing you down. And this is just happening just because you're trying to move through the location. It's not like the locked door. Oh, is that a fail? Okay. Yeah. So unfortunately, it's going to take 2 movement to get through this alleyway because you failed your roll. So,
all right.
So next turn, you can just spend your movement like normal. You don't have to make another roll, but you get through the location, okay?
All right.
Cool. And then next up, we have Dan. Dan, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna do what Christian did.
Perfect. Make a dexterity check.
That's a fail.
Ah, okay.
I'm going to push it.
You're gonna push it? Okay.
Yeah.
If you fail, it's gonna take 3 movement action to get through the narrow alleyway. But if you don't, then you get through it. You get through it and you go to the locked door location.
All right, fail.
Oh no.
Oh, Dan is trailing behind. Okay. All right. That's okay. All right. So now that everybody's moved their movement actions, we're back to the top of the order. So Irene, you're up at this door. You've been waiting for a little bit, but your friends are still here. So here's some of the things you can do. You can run back to try to, throw some more obstacles in the way of the goon, or you can fight back to try to, slow him down or protect your teammates, or you can stay at the door and kind of, just wait for them to run by and then stuff it up. The world is your oyster.
Are there any, So I've got my chair with me.
Yep.
Is there anything nearby that I can throw?
Sure. Yeah, there's probably, some rocks, that you can definitely throw. If you want something a little bit bigger, I'll just make a spot hidden roll. Or
I'm gonna make a spot hidden roll.
Or you can use a movement action to just spend time to find something, and then
I'd like to do that.
All right. You kind of spend some time. You look around and you find a probably a metal pipe.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And I think. Can I see my comrades through the alley, or they're I can't even see them?
You can see them. Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna stay here, but I've got my pipe ready to throw at a goon.
Yeah.
And I've got my chair ready to block the door.
Okay.
And I think that's all I'm gonna do with my movement.
All right, you're staying there. Cool.
Now, for other for people that may be watching this, it is to be noted that Irene does have a pistol, and it could be, is a valid thing to do is for her to kind of come out to the alleyway and provide suppressing fire, right?
Yes.
Which would cause the goon to have to. Now, this is where I don't know. We may have to take cover as well as the goon, but forcing the goon in the cover maybe would be good there as well. But
That's a
lot of
really
ways
good
to
idea.
attack this situation. And I'm just bringing that up because, like, she made her decision, to do what she wanted to do. But
Yeah.
with the tools that you have available, it's pretty interesting.
Yep, but I mean, like, now that you bring that up,
Sounds like a better idea.
would you like to? You have like 3 movements still left, Irene, so you can go in
So-
there and like take a shot at him.
Here's the question I have.
Yep.
My pistol only has like a range of 3 yards.
Uh
So would it even be worth it to try to shoot at him?
huh. Well, if you move to that location, I would allow you to still like shoot at him.
Take a pot shot.
Yeah.
Throw it, let's do it.
So.
I'm leaving the chair behind.
Okay, no worries. So you go to like the edge of like so you spend you found the pipe, you move to the narrow alleyway, and then you take a shot at the goon, right?
Yep.
Okay, so basically the person firing the gun makes a percentile roll and compares the result with their firearm skill. So you're gonna do that, Ashley. But before you do that, the target of a shot when you're being fired at cannot fight back and you can't dodge a bullet. But the one thing you can do is dive for cover, sorry. By rolling against the dodge skill. So that's what the goon's gonna do. Basically, if the dodge roll is successful, the attacker's rolls to hit are made with 1 penalty die. So we're gonna see if the goon succeeds on that. But a character that opts to dive forfeits their next attack, which would be this guy's movement, basically. If they have already used their attack this round, they forfeit their attack in the following round. So he's gonna dive for cover, and you're basically slowing him down by doing this. So he's diving for cover. He does succeed, so you're gonna fire, but with 1 penalty dice. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did we decide that I'm essentially just rolling 2d100s?
Yeah, for Roll20 purposes, we're gonna do 2d100s.
Oh, my 20 is still a hard success.
Yeah! And your handgun, I believe, does 1d10 of damage?
Mine only does 1d6.
Okay, so go ahead and roll that damage.
Because I have a teeny tiny 25 Derringer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nice.
I hit
5! Nice! So you sink in some damage. Now, I don't think he suffered a wound because it wasn't his, let's see here.
like a major wound, you mean?
Greater than or equal to half their hit points. No. So he didn't receive a major wound because his hit points were 12. So he's down to 7 HP. But that's okay. He took a nasty hit. He dove for cover, and you still have 1 more action left. Did you want to do anything else?
Can I go back
To the door? Yeah, you can do
to
that.
the door?
Yeah. You find a pipe, you run to the alleyway, you shoot down the alleyway, you're like, okay, bye, and then
Hurry up!
You motion towards the door and you just go back in.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, I'll move you back, Irene. Okay, so now it's the goon's turn. He dove for cover, so it says that he forfeits attack. So I'm basically saying that instead of his 2 movements, he loses 1, and he still has 1 other one, which he's gonna try to navigate, well, it says forfeit his attack. Let's see here. No, I'm going to say he can't attack at all because he dove for cover. So I'm going to see if he can at least navigate the narrow hallway or alleyway, but no, he does not. He fails. So it's going to take him at least another turn to get through the alleyway. So,
Hey, nice.
yeah.
Bought us time. Well, at least Butcher.
Yep. Butcher, it was your turn. What are you doing with your one movement action?
I'm trying to get out of this alleyway.
All right, do it. You're
Um,
able to get through it just fine.
uh, man. I'm making through the doorway.
Cool. You make it through the doorway. You say hi to Irene. You see her with like her lead pipe and her chair ready to close it up behind. So, all right. And now we're up to Dan. Dan, you still have to spend 2 more movement to get past this alleyway because you failed your roll. So you can at least spend 1 to start getting closer to the end of that hallway or that alleyway. Okay.
Yep.
Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
All right. Cool. Next turn, you'll be able to get to the door. And we're back to Irene. Irene, Butcher's with you at the unlocked door that you shot the lock off and everything. So what are you doing this turn? Again, run back and try shooting at him again.
Yeah, I
Do it. That's you're quick. You can do that. So run back and take a shot.
Element of
Okay.
surprise.
Yep. He is
am.
gonna dive for
I
cover.
run back.
He's diving for cover again.
So I roll with
He
the penalty die.
Yeah. No. He failed his dodge roll.
Hey.
So
I
you shoot
am
normal. Yeah.
gonna spend 8 luck to get a success. Can I do that?
Yeah. Oh wait, no, you can't spend luck on like fighting rolls and stuff.
Oh, then I miss.
Okay, you miss. All right, that's okay. You
He's
can
still
take.
dove for cover.
Here's the
right?
thing. You can still. Yeah. He still wasted his action. You can do multiple shots per turn, but at an additional like penalty dice. Do you know how many rounds are in your gun's clip?
Oh, I might not have been able to shoot again.
Oh, because you have to reload.
Because. Oh.
Well, you have movement action, so you can reload and then.
Okay. We'll say I reloaded.
Yep.
And then I moved.
Yep.
And then I shot.
Yep.
And now I'm gonna move back.
You're moving back. Okay, cool. You do so. Well, he still dove for cover. And he's going to use his second action. So he forfeits his attack. He's going to use his second action to actually move through the alleyway. And he's at the door. So he does make it to where you guys are at. In front of Dan.
Crap.
Yeah. And here we are at Butcher. Now here's the thing. I do want to let you know you're not limited to just like attacking and stuff like that. Like you can use you can push him through the door if you want to try to do that. Like push him through the door and then lock it up when Dan runs through or however you want to do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think at this point, then it would be good to try and knock him down to buy time for Dan to get through.
Cool.
Now, would that be a brawl roll?
Yes. It would. And let's see, traders a regular fighting attack. So he's gonna try to fight back, actually.
Here. Yeah, so that's not. So that's just a. Let's see here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think. 1/5 is a hard success.
Is it 1/5 is an extreme? Half is a hard success.
So it's a hard success.
Okay.
Right.
He got a normal success, so he doesn't win his fight back. So you win, and what are you trying to do, Christian? What is Butcher trying to do?
So I'm trying to just throw him down against the wall, basically, on the other side of the alleyway across from the door.
Boom. You do so. He gets thrown back, and he's on the other side of the door, kind of on his butt right now, trying to like recover and get up. And it's Dan's turn.
Gonna keep on keeping on.
All right.
The...
You make it to the past the locked door. You like run past it, and Irene's like waiting right there. And in fact, Irene, it's your turn. Your comrades are safely on the other side of the unlocked door.
I shove the chair underneath the door handle.
Yeah.
And actually, can I before I do that,
Yes.
can I throw the pipe at him?
Yes. You're gonna have to do a throw roll, but you can throw the pipe at him.
I would like to do that.
Oh my gosh, I gotta look up how much damage this does.
So while you do that,
Yeah.
I guess I'll have you multitask maybe. I do have a question. I don't know, or I might have missed if we went over it. Are you able to like ready an action, so like off of a trigger, like a reaction type thing, like using an action but for later? So like say like Irene on her turn, if it wasn't her turn again,
Yeah.
like but previously on her turn she said like once everybody gets through, I want to just bar this door.
Mm-hmm.
So like it wouldn't have to be her turn for that just to trigger happening anyway, right? Like it wouldn't
Yeah.
have to get back to her. Like are you able to do that at all in the rules, or is that because like in like D&D obviously you have spells and you can actually like have triggers for those and like ready things, so
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be on your turn.
No, and that's a fair question because like D&D has that. D&D has like a ready action that uses your reaction to like perform that, right? Whenever something
Right.
Yeah.
happens. And from what I've read in Call of Cthulhu, there's nothing written in the rules that does that. Because there's no like reaction type of action in the action economy in Call of Cthulhu. I certainly playing Call of Cthulhu, like if I was the DM, I would, or Keeper of Arcane Lore. I'm sorry, Keeper of Arcane Lore. Babe.
Babe.
I certainly would allow that, especially if like Ashley, like Irene had all these extra like actions and stuff like that. I'd be like, yeah, like you're preparing for that when everybody runs through, especially if it's like the end of like a chase scene. Absolutely, I feel like that'd be fine. But rules is written, there doesn't seem to be any kind of like readying action type of thing. So
Okay.
Good to know.
I
Succeeded.
You succeeded? Okay.
Just a regular success.
Yeah. I'm gonna say he's gonna try to dodge. Nope, does not dodge.
I hit him with the metal pole then.
Yeah, so here's the thing. It looks like a thrown rock is a D4, where a thrown spear is a D8, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I want to say that, like, a thrown, like, metal pipe is like a D6. That seems fair to
Split the
me.
difference.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Alright, that is the same as your gun.
Which doesn't feel right.
But we'll say
I mean,
sure.
if it hits the head, like it could,
Yeah, I can knock him
Mm.
a
out.
concussion or
It
something.
does just one little damage.
One little
I
damage.
wasn't a very good thrower, but you know.
Yeah, throw him, it hits him in the arm, and he goes, ah! And then you use the rest of your movement action to lock
Bar
up the
the
door.
door.
Yeah.
And that's 2. And then I'd like to use my next 2 to go to the next location.
All right. You go to the next location. Now, since you have one more action left, I do want to let you guys know how it's resolved, how these chase scenes are kind of resolved is really up to the keeper, which is really, really cool. It literally says in the book on page 141, the pursuer can continue chasing the fleeing characters so long as the location or direction of travel can be identified. Each chase is unique with its own string of locations, so keeper judgments must be made about points where the pursuer might lose their quarry. So basically, it's up to me whether or not, like, oh yeah, reasonable, you're able to get away. There's also hiding. So like hiding, you can do like a hiding roll to kind of like get away and be. Ashley, is the speakers going? Is it coming out the computer or is it going in your headset? I thought I was
For
hearing
me,
an
it's
echo.
coming in my headset.
It is? Oh, I thought I heard an echo. Okay, never mind. But yeah, hiding is the very same thing where you can basically hide and kind of get away. So, for example, Ashley, Irene is in a warehouse with tons of barrels and boxes at this next location. I'm going to let you know it'd probably be very easy for you to hide in these boxes and barrels and get away.
I would like to do so.
So go ahead and make a stealth roll.
I feel like that's gonna fail.
Ooh.
It is? Can I push it?
You can, but you might cause a noise so loud if you fail that this might not be the best hiding place for you. Like by smashing, like breaking a box or something.
So can I also choose to just be like, I couldn't hide this turn and I'm gonna try again next time?
Yes.
I'm gonna hold then.
That's why we talk about like what are the potential outcomes and like failures of
Right.
like push rolls, right? And the potential outcome is you get away.
Right.
But the failure would be that you can't hide here anymore.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I was saying that. But, you know, the goon is behind a locked door. Let's see what he kind of does. So it's his turn. He's at the locked door. He's gonna attempt to like knock it down. So how these rules work is that the door has a certain amount of hit points. And I'm trying to find that here real quick. A door, let's see, standard back door, strong domestic external door, 15 hit points. So he's gonna try to like,
A lot of hit points.
yeah, he's gonna try to slam into it. Let's see.
Is it buffed though because it's got the chair
Yeah.
blocking it?
We'll say it has 20 points then. 20 hit points. Let's see. Whether it's kicking down a locked door or ramming through a road block, sometimes brute force solution. No attack roll is required for each point of their build. Vehicles inflict 10. Okay, so no hit point, no roll is required. And I'm just saying he's gonna just use his shoulder. So he just does 1d3 plus his build damage, his damage bonus. Oh, he rolled poor. He's probably like a build 1, so 1d4. Okay. 1d4 plus 1d4. He does 4 damage to the door. It bolsters it, like shakes a little bit, but it still has a ton of HP. So yeah. Dan and Butcher on the other side hear the door buckle a bit, but it still seems to be holding strong. So Butcher, what are you doing on your one movement action?
I'm gonna go up against the door and hold it myself as well.
Oh.
And tell Dan, go ahead. I'll hold him off for as long as I can.
All right. So,
All right.
Dan.
See ya.
You run and you get to the warehouse. All right, we're back to Irene.
I'm gonna try to hide again.
Hide.
I am successful that time.
Boom. Irene, you escape from the chase. So I'm going to put you up here. You're well hidden. The goon can't find you, so you're good.
You stuff yourself in a barrel.
Yep.
It's a barrel.
All right. So the goon uses both of his actions to attack. And he does 10 damage to the door. So it's starting to falter. It's starting to not look good. And you're bracing it, Butcher, but you can feel that like the door ain't gonna last much longer. So Butcher, it's
Got
your
a
turn.
ditch.
All right. At this point, I'm gonna run.
All right, you run. You get to the warehouse.
Dan got away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and Dan are at the warehouse. You look at each other. Dan, what are you doing in the warehouse? Are you? There's another location you can go to, or you can try to hide in here.
No, I'm gonna keep running.
All right, you run. You get to the coastline. And I'm going to say at this point, it's going to be very hard for the person to track you. So as long as you move one more location, which would probably just be up or down the coastline, you escape. So now that you're here, you can kind of see that. So next turn, you can just get out of here. But yeah, Irene is out. Yeah.
Not made of sand. Then they could definitely track you.
Yeah. All right. The goon uses both of his actions to break down the door. So the door is no longer standing, but he hasn't moved to the new location yet. So Butcher, it's your turn.
So were you basing the hiding off of like stealth?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think it's best for me to run.
Okay. I'll move you to the coast as well. Same rules as Dan. All right, Dan, are you just gonna run up the coast and escape?
Yep.
Okay, you do so. Irene. Now it's the goon's turn. He moves 1, 2, gets to the coast. He's in pursuit of you. But Butcher, it's your turn.
So he could can I swim away? Can he track me? I jump in the water and go
I'm gonna
underwater?
say if you try to swim away, if you make a successful swim roll, then you get away.
Oh shit, there is a swim
Yep.
skill. Dang
Yep.
it. Of course I should have known. Let's just do it for fun.
All right, let's hit it.
Oh, success!
Yeah! You jump into the ocean. It's like kind of a high cliff, so you jump off and you dive into the ocean, and he loses you in the waves. He kind of like goes off and he tries like maybe he leashes a few shots into the ocean, but you get away. And you guys survive the chase. You get away from the goon. There you go. So
I feel like we're all separated though.
yeah, I mean like a chasing can be like. What were you gonna say, Christian?
I was gonna say, that's part of the story of the chasing, right? Like we have to just weave it into what comes next, which is interesting.
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Like making up reasons about how you guys like reconvene or meet up later. That's the thrill of it, right? Like you don't know what's gonna happen in Chase, especially because like as you can see how this set up, it provided a lot of tension for Dan and Butcher, or who were trying to escape this goon who was already faster than them. So it was a lot of Irene trying to like running back and trying to help you guys as you're trying to escape. And that's kind of like the tension of like what it is. Like if Dan and Butcher weren't like slower moving characters, this whole chase scene wouldn't have happened. But because your characters are a little bit slower and the goon is faster, that's why this whole sequence kind of happened. And so that's how we kind of play it out. So hopefully that made sense to everyone.
That makes so much more sense after playing through it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I did think it was kind of funny. Like Irene could have just ditched y'all, but
she stayed behind.
she didn't.
Yeah. Okay. So
She also could have played it smarter, but it worked out.
yeah. And we spent an hour kind of doing that. I wanted to kind of cover like vehicles and stuff like that, but I can just kind of go over some simple rules for that for you guys real quick, because vehicles work very much the same way with just some minor differences. So, essentially, I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and as you can see here, there's like, we have a 13, 14, 15, and 16. And with vehicles, like, they have a movement rate too. I think when we were discussing, like, Christian and Justin's car, I think we said Christian's pickup was a 14, while Justin's Leo's car was like a deluxe, so it was like a 15 movement rate. So that would have been the same thing at the beginning. You guys do a drive auto roll, and depending on whether you get an extreme success, a normal success, or a failure, you could be +1 movement or -1 movement. So very much because Justin just has a faster car, if you guys got normal successes, then like Justin just would have sped away, and Butcher wouldn't have been able to keep up. But I would have ruled it still how it already happened, right? I would have ruled it like, oh, well, the location isn't that far away, so you guys would have ended up there, like, regardless.
Especially because, like, there's only one way to get there. It's a small town, and also for plot purposes, Butcher needed to be present with the party at some point.
He's a party character, so he plays by different rules. But just like in like the chase scene above, there's obstacles you guys would face, so like there's hazards. So like,
is that a dead cow?
It's supposed to be a live cow, but I could only find what looks to be like a laying dead cow. So like, for example, the hazards I was gonna have you guys encounter is like a puddle and a cow, which probably would have just been like drive auto skill rolls, which are, it's very much the same. Like, it, when you're in a car, it's going to be drive auto the entire time because you're in a car and doing that, right? So
you could also potentially rule it as like a spot hidden if there's like a deer off to the side.
Ooh, yeah, spying that. Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because here's some of the differences that are encountered with like vehicles. So it's, you remember how like Irene and Dan were in the car with Leo and Marvin? You guys get to do stuff in the car as well. So you guys only get one action, but you can either like attack, like shoot out the window, or you can even help navigate. So when you help navigate, a couple things happen. Let me read the rules for you. Sorry, I'm trying to find it real quick. Just passenger options. I just had it. While I'm looking for the passenger rules specifically, I do want to let you guys know one of the things I didn't get to cover too, but like, you can use movement actions to approach a hazard cautiously. So for example, if you want to gain a bonus die, you can spend one movement action to gain a bonus die to whatever skill roll you'd have to face for something. So if Irene was running through that like narrow hallway and wanted a bonus die for her dex roll, she could use one of her movement actions to do that. And now that I realize that, I should have told you, Ashley, that you could have spent more movement actions to give yourself bonus roll overrolls to your stealth for the warehouse.
Well, that would have been helpful. I would have done that.
I'm sorry, but
now I know.
Now you know. So, sorry, I'm trying to find passengers.
Isn't it the same difference as just being like, I'm gonna roll for stealth. Oh, I failed. I'm gonna roll for stealth again. It's the same difference. So.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, still trying to find it. There we go, finally found it. Okay. Passengers do not make a speed roll and do not have movement actions. They may act once on their turn in the dex order. Typically, vehicle passengers might use firearms or throw things out of the car to obstruct those following. One passenger can assist the driver with navigation, reading maps, and offering advice on how to navigate hazards. If a passenger uses their action to assist the driver in this way, they may make one spot hidden or navigate skill roll. If successful, on the vehicle's next move, the vehicle can accelerate with one fewer penalty die. Thus, the vehicle may advance up to 3 locations with no penalty die and up to 5 of 1 penalty die. Now, for a second, that might be confusing because I haven't gone over acceleration rules yet. So essentially, when you're in cars, here's the cool thing. So let's say Leo uses his turn, he goes to the puddle and uses his skill roll, passes, and he navigates through the puddle, right? Now, Butcher, you're way behind, and you're a slower car. But let's say you want to catch up to them. In a car, you can. So there's this thing called pedal to the metal. Pedal to the metal. So essentially, you can...
Have you not heard of that before?
No, yeah.
That's like a term.
I know the term. I was making sure that it was called that in the game.
Okay.
But as normal, a driver can use one movement action to move to one location. A driver can elect to move to 2 or 3 locations with one movement action. Any hazards encountered have 1 penalty die applied to the skill rolls. And you can also move to 4 to 5 locations with one movement action. And any hazards encountered have 2 penalty dice applied to the skill roll. So for example, if you wanted to move to right here, like where they are, that'd be 1, 2, 3. So you'd catch up to them, and you'd only have to face this hazard with 1 penalty die. Or, if that makes sense. Where normally you just make the skill roll, but if you're, like, flooring it, you get to that in, like, 1 movement action, just with, like, encountering any hazard with, like, a penalty die. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. That's cool.
Yeah. And then, of course, they're attacking with cars is a little different. I'll briefly cover it because it's a little bit complicated. But remember how we were talking about builds and stuff like that? So essentially, let's say you catch up to them and you have like another movement action. You can ram them. So let's say Leo's car has a 5 build and your car has a 6 build. So you ramming Leo's car, how it works is that your build is also health. So you can think of your health of your car, if it's a build of 6, as 6 d10s. And then Justin's car is 5 d10s, since it's a build of 5. And when you ram it, you have to make your checks like normal, like you're normally fighting, but if it's successful, then your car does 6 d10 of damage. So, Christian, go ahead and roll 6 d10 for me. Which is a lot, I know.
It's fun.
24.
24. So essentially, you take that number and round down to the nearest 10. So you do 20 damage, which is like, for each point of build is 2 build points. So Justin's car goes from a 5 build down to a 3 build. So his car is looking pretty hurt, right? Because you rammed into it. However, you don't get off scot-free. You take half that damage to your own car, which it would be 12, which will only be 1 build point damage. Does that make sense? It's a little complicated, but you can kind of think of these rules as kind of like, because it's a construct, it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then of course, like, let's say instead of you catching up to them and you passing the puddle, you actually fail the puddle and you skid out and you crash. There's actually a whole thing for that too. So essentially there's a chart on page 147 of the Keeper Handbook where it talks about minor, moderate, severe, and mayhem and roadkill incidents. And let's say if you just kind of like slip on the water and you kind of crash into a tree, or let's see, a moderate incident is hitting a cow or a large deer, whereas like hitting a tree or a lamppost would be a severe incident. So I'm gonna say, okay, you slip on the water, you crash into a tree. That severe incident is 1d10 of build, which is a lot. So go ahead and roll 1d10 for me, Christian. 7. Okay, so that'd kill you, basically. Let's redo this. Let's say instead you run into a ditch, right? You slip and you run into a ditch. So let's just say it's a minor incident and do 1d3 for me, and then it's -1. So 1d3 -1. So actually, it's you rolled a two.
Yeah.
And then what's Oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I thought it was -1 build. No, that makes sense. So you only take one build damage. So your car only takes like one build damage, and then you can just kind of get back on the road and keep on going. So that's kind of how that works essentially. So, um, but on top of that, you would take the same amount of damage as well to yourself, depending on the incident. So since you rolled 1d3, you'd also roll like 1d3 -1 for your own health for that. So you did build damage, you would do it for your own health. So you'd roll the same amount of dice for that. And then you roll like how much it would delay you, because failing a hazard while you're driving delays your movement. So you would take 2 health or 2 damage from that incident, and then roll one more d3, because this D3 is how many movement actions you're delayed. So you would just be delayed by one movement action. Depending on how much you have, it would take, like, basically it means like it's like you getting out of the ditch and then
Yeah.
you getting back on the road and going. So, but
Okay.
yeah. But that's it for chases. That's all that I wanted to go over for that, because there's a lot of different rules and a lot of complication, but I just want to make sure we were good on chases since I messed up on it, a couple weeks ago. And yeah, so what do you guys think about those chase rules? And then we can kind of roll into what you guys thought about the adventure.
For me, the on foot chase rules made a little bit more sense. I think there's a lot more moving parts in the car chase rules, which makes sense
Yeah.
because there literally are other moving parts. I think
Lots in each car.
quite literally.
Yes.
And then when you have multiple players in one car and you have like the spot hiddens and the
Hmm.
shooting behind and things like that, I think that's interesting. And I like that there's hazards, that's part of it. And um, I think it'll be tough to do it the first time you do it, but once you get the hang of it, I think it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I agree. I definitely would have to reference those rules for again when we go through those things, especially the car chase rules.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but a lot of room for kind of role playing and ingenuity within the chase, which opens, like we said, kind of different storylines we may not have expected. Um, and the game very much encourages you not to engage in combat, but play things out smartly because you can die so easily.
Yes.
And I do like that. Like even with the keeper of arcane lore could set up situations where, oh, if you roll this and fail, you might fall into this trap or this ditch, which then to get out might put you back a location, or you might be able to unlock this one thing, or like if you pass a skill check or see this, and maybe you would be able to like get through this location without spending the extra movement that you needed to get through this alleyway or whatever. Like you find a shortcut.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things you can incorporate there on your own, crafting this narrative as the keeper of arcane lore, which is really cool too.
Mm.
So a lot of rules just in general, and this is kind of going forward in our overall thoughts, but it's definitely, I think it's cool.
Yeah. Dan,
I
what
think
about
it's cool
yeah?
that
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think it's cool that they've even thought about all of these different things for players to do. Like, I wouldn't have thought about ramming my car into the other player's car, but yeah, I can.
You can do that. It damages your
Um,
car, but you can do it.
and I just
Just
really
a
like
car.
that. It's just a car. It's an imaginary car. It's
It's
fine.
imaginary car.
But yeah, Dan, what were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys pretty much covered it, right?
Yeah.
Like chase rules are pretty interesting. It's definitely like it does a lot to add a point of when you compare Call of Cthulhu to D&D, right? There's not as much combat. Like you have like moments of tension, but it's a lot more role play, right? So this almost adds like a combat like scenario, a point of tension that
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't otherwise be felt. It's a break from the role play heavy game that is Call of Cthulhu. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good addition.
Yeah.
Going
I think
off of
that's a
that,
really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Christian?
no, I like that point because I remember in D&D, and this is like really the first thing of time I'm playing through our D&D session or our campaign. And I remember the big thing for me that I said at the end was like, oh, there were definitely times why I wanted more combat. And while this isn't a totally fair comparison because that was like 3 months and then this was like 3 weeks,
Yeah.
but I, at least my initial impression of this is that I didn't feel that way with Call of Cthulhu because we did have those tension points. We did have like more than just like, oh, talking to people and maybe like, getting information from people and all of that. We had these tension points with chasing and with the mystery where finding clues and trying to solve this mystery there and the world itself, right? I think there's a lot more to be discovered in this game, and this goes into my overall thoughts with it is that if you're a new group looking to play a TTRPG, this probably isn't the best place to start because it's so rules heavy and there's so much going on here. But I would say that if you want to dive in deep, go for it. But the great thing about that is that yeah, it does give you a lot of options outside of combat. So
Yeah, the like Christian was saying, like Call of Cthulhu, like the starter set, like it doesn't like it's interesting how it kind of like dumbs it down, makes it simplified and easy to pick up, right? Like a lot of the starter set, like there's no chase rules in here, really. And if there are, it's super simplified. Remember what I was talking about with Red Jake, where it's just like, you roll against his dex. If you win it twice, then you catch him. Whereas, as you can see, what we just played out, way more in depth. Gun rules, super simplified. You roll, if it works, then it works. There's no like multiple shots or anything like that. It just says like, you do this amount of damage, right? Whereas obviously, like what Justin looked up with his Tommy gun and like doing volleys and stuff like that. There's a lot of rules. So it's very interesting to see how the starter set simplifies and only includes like the bare minimum to get by, which is a lot of like the investigation rolls, the sanity rolls, the basics of combat, and then healing, right? And that's about it. So
I'd definitely start with that then.
yeah,
Just like your first foray.
yeah. But to your point, Christian, yeah, it's like it is kind of cool that like how detailed it gets. Like if you want to go hard, you can't. Like the rules are there. So, but I do think like especially if like what we encounter is there was definitely a chase scenario and I wanted to do it justice and I felt bad. I was like, "Oh no, like I didn't get the rules correctly," but I like to think that the outcome would have been the same with Butcher getting there like we talked about earlier. So, it ended up working okay.
Sure.
And that's why I think I would tell anybody new trying it out is like, don't worry. Like if the outcome's gonna be the same, like just role play it how you think would be the best way to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
Point is to have fun.
yeah.
So, I think one thing that I wanted to say about Call of Cthulhu starter set versus the Essentials kit is I really enjoyed the length of the adventure. It was not nearly as long. Um, we were able to play through the adventure in 3 sessions, right?
Yep.
Four.
3. But
So
4 with our session 0, but yeah.
four with our session zero, but three really. Um, but with the Essentials kit, we played through that for 3 months, and that didn't feel like enough time. So that
Yeah.
was like 12 sessions, and that still didn't feel like enough time to do the whole thing justice,
Yeah.
which I think can be intimidating for new players, just as much as being rules heavy can be intimidating for new players. So I
Yeah.
think that the starter set strikes a really nice balance between the different things, because Christian is right. Like if you're starting with um, the full game and the full set of rules for Call of Cthulhu, I'd say for brand new people to TTRPGs, you might get frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but starting with the starter set, I feel like is actually really good, if not better in some ways than the D&D Essentials kit for starting out with TTRPGs because of the length.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it a lot less overwhelming. There's people who are like, I'd never want to play Monopoly because it's a 6-hour game. And I just don't want to sit down and commit to that. But if you can kind of get that foot through the door where it's like, okay, we can just play this one short adventure. It'll just be a couple of sessions instead of saying, all right, you're signed up for the Essentials kit, set aside 6 months.
And
Which,
yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah. So that's kind of the point that I wanted to make.
I mean, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I definitely noticed that like all these adventures included. There's three adventures included. There's Paper Chase. There is the one you guys played, which was Edge of Darkness, and then there's Dead
Mhm.
Man Stomp. And Paper Chase is estimated to be like 1 to 2 sessions. Um, yeah, it's 1 to 2 players approximately. Actually, 1 session is what it estimates to be. Whereas scenario 2, Edge of Darkness, is 2 to 5 players, an approximate playtime 1 to 3 sessions, which is what it was, which was
Yeah, it was three
three three
sessions.
hour sessions. Yeah, and the last one I think is the same amount of length. Dead Man Stomp. It's the same amount of players, which is like 2 to 4 or 2 to 5, and approximate playtime 1 to 2 sessions, which I believe. So like the only things that take a long time is like you could Edge of Darkness. You guys could have done it in 1 session if you went straight to the farmhouse, right? But you guys wanted to do some research. You wanted to investigate the library, talk to Dr. Henry Armitage, try to get the book, and you came up with some like closed ends, and you couldn't get any further. But eventually, you got to the farmhouse and did your stuff there. So
Mhm.
um, but yeah, like Ashley was saying, like most of this stuff included, not super like there. It's a good mystery, but it doesn't take a long time, which is still I think very well written. I think, in my opinion.
And I think that's an advantage of the starter set, especially. Thinking of new players who want to try out tabletop role playing games.
Mm-hmm.
I think it makes it a little bit less intimidating.
Yeah, I guess like my statement would even be more valid for new DMs specifically, right? Because um again,
It's a lot.
definitely start with a starter set, but like a DM in any TTRPG, like I've only really had experience with Dungeons and Dragons starting off, and that was overwhelming and felt like a lot of work. But so I can only imagine with, starting off in Call of Cthulhu, and it's like literally have rules for like everything,
Yeah,
and it's like,
Right. And
okay,
like
so
being expected to be the expert on all of
I
those.
thought I was prepared.
yeah, I mean, and you're great, right?
Oh,
And
thanks.
like you like they're still like, oh shoot, like yeah, this is handled this way, and that it's it's a lot,
And that's why I
but
tried to offload a little bit of that onto you guys, right? Like I remember when we were getting ready,
yeah,
I was like, "Hey guys, just like learn your weapons, because like I
yeah,
know some of the weapon rules, but if you choose a particular gun, make sure you know those rules for that, because like I said, like Justin's volleys, like that's a whole rule set that I didn't
hmm,
go down because I was prepping for the campaign and stuff, right? So
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I think the other thing I really liked about Call of Cthulhu as well was the setting. I think that was super interesting to get to play something a little bit different. Because Dungeons and Dragons, which I feel bad that that's kind of the main one that I'm comparing to as well, but that's the main other TTRPG that I've played. But Dungeons and Dragons is very heavy on the fantasy, which is very fun, but it's very nice to have something different.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of have this more realistic historical 20s world to play in. It was different. It was really interesting to see all of the research that Justin was doing into his character and historically accurate cars and stuff like that. And I think that's something that if you want to go hard into researching your historical accuracy, like great, do it.
You can do it.
But if you don't, I think you can still have fun with it.
Yeah.
Which was what I liked because I definitely did not do nearly that much research. My research was on stream. Like, did they have transatlantic radio waves in the 20s? I don't know. Let me Google it.
I think it does help with, like, on the role-playing side, this game is good because, like, in going into D&D as a new TTRPG player, it may be harder for some people to feel like they can accurately, or what seems to them accurately, role play within a fantasy environment unless they're very familiar with the genre. Whereas 1920s, I can, like Ash said, I can Google basically anything about that and just use that as my basis for my role play, right? So
Yeah.
it could help, more role play centric players or people that want that experience there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's much more
absolutely.
expansive. I mean, it's so much you can do with it. Well, and it's apples to oranges, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
one's fantasy, one's 1920s.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very different.
I think the one thing that I really appreciated, which was kind of like an off-screen thing that I don't know if we super addressed or not, I can't remember. Um, but Call of Cthulhu, like the Cthulhu mythos, was written by that one guy,
H.P.
Spencer.
Lovecraft. Oh yeah, I
H.P.
mentioned it at the
Lovecraft.
beginning. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'll bring it back up again.
Yeah.
But H.P. Lovecraft was like a dick.
A
Like
racist.
he was a super racist,
Yep.
not good person.
Nope.
But he did create some really cool shit with the Cthulhu mythos.
Cool
And what
mysteries.
I appreciated with the role playing game, the tabletop RPG, um, was that they were like, hey, we know that the guy that inspired all of this was like not cool, and we're not cool with racism, but we think that we can appreciate the fantasy world that he created still, acknowledge that he was not a cool person, and move past it and still take the good from it, which I thought was a cool way to approach it.
Yeah, it doesn't sanitize it, right? Like it specifically is just like, look, we don't agree with this. Like we want to acknowledge this. Like here's what we've taken from it. Like it specifically says like in spite of Lovecraft's distasteful racism and outdated personal views, we can find inspiration for gaming in his fictional creations. And instead it chooses like to look upon like the Cthulhu mythos not as those outdated views, but as that he further imagined the fundamental truths of the universe were so alien and horrifying that mere exposure to them might result in madness. While humanity might crave both comfort and truth, only one or the other was possible. The human mind is an inflexible container and cannot contain both cosmic truth and complete sanity. More of one poured in must spill out more of the other, which is kind of like the central theme of it. And I think that's a really good thing to kind of like, like not like accept his other views, but take kind of like his inspiration from his creation, right? So,
Absolutely.
but yeah. And speaking of cosmic mythos, oh, go ahead, Dan.
Let us remember him for the king that he was. Not, Or
King
not the jelly
Jellybean?
bean.
Yeah. Oh my god. And not for the jelly bean he actually was.
That's so screwed up.
Oh man. Oh man.
That episode made me
to,
deeply uncomfortable.
to be fair, or related to that, I started watching Solar Opposites,
Yeah.
and if you guys haven't, I recommend it. Anybody that is fans of that Rick and Morty reference, yeah,
I've seen the first 2 seasons. It's great.
yeah.
I was gonna ask, speaking of cosmic mythos, what do you guys think of the mystery? And like, because you guys got a lot of red herrings, specifically the De Vermis Mysterii book that you try to get from Dr. Henry Armitage, and a few other things, but also like, what do you guys think of like the creature, like the lurker and stuff like that, and everything that kind of came with that? How did approaching the farmhouse go? What was like your overall thoughts on the research, the mystery, and the completion?
I thought it was interesting that the research kind of you didn't need to do it.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
could have just showed up to the farmhouse with the information from
We got disconnected again.
Yeah.
oh,
Oh.
like completely from Twitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been loading.
Here,
Off and
I'm
on.
gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna restart OBS, and then we'll hop back in. Okay. All right, and we're back. Didn't even have to close out OBS. Sorry, guys. I don't know what's going on with our internet and OBS, but that's why we keep saying we need Marvin. We need our Marvin radio engineer back so we can make sure we're up live and doing just fine. But Ashley, what were you saying about the adventure? The research. You were talking about how you didn't even need to do it to get to the farmhouse, right?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that you could just take what you got from that box in the hospital scene and just go to the farmhouse and use the clues from the box to find the information in the house
Yeah.
to do the exorcism. I think what might have been interesting was if it wasn't that easy.
Mm-hmm.
If we actually did need to,
Do some prep.
Learn how to do the ritual or something like that.
right, and like that ritual was incorrect. We needed to go to New Orleans or something. Which also, thinking of it as a starter set, it makes sense that it's not that involved with all those extra steps in the middle because that's not going to get done in 1 to 3 sessions.
So that was
But
actually gonna be what I was gonna tell you guys, is revealing the keeper curtain a little bit. It specifically says that it's written that way for new players who maybe don't know to do research. You know, I gave you guys hints like, hey, you guys can go to the library. That's a thing in this game. But like, it's written that way as a starter adventure to just kind of be like, if they don't get the clues, they just go to the farmhouse. Well, everything's there anyways. But no,
they can still figure it out.
yeah. But like, no, I think that's fair. I think it would have been more interesting to see like what kind of like, I don't know, what kind of benefits you could have got from doing research other than just finding
Yes.
stuff out, right? You mostly just got backstory on Marin Allen and like other stuff that way in the sarcophagus, but like nothing really to help you do
That
the
would have
ritual.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like,
It would have been helpful if there was a way to do research to find out you need to do the ritual at midnight.
I think that was skipped
Yeah.
over. Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
Well, yeah, like I kept saying, it was like I kept, or I had said before, I kept expecting some sort of like clue, like regarding the moon or something to that, right? Like, that like something narratively where like the moon will shine and then a light will come through a skylight right where the circle or the pentagram's supposed to be drawn, right?
Yeah.
Something to that effect. It's like, okay, we need to do this at a certain time We know it's night. We know full moon often gives a lot of light. The skylight's here. We draw it. Things like that, right? Like logically, kind of, yeah. If we miss that, then well, that's I guess our fault. But
No, it wasn't written in.
okay,
Because like that was the thing that I noticed as I was reading. Because I get all the keeper notes, right? Like I get all the backseat stuff. So I'm like, I read like the clues I give you, but then I'm reading all this other stuff, and it kept mentioning like specifically at midnight, has to do it at midnight, do it at midnight, and like it wasn't until we started playing it out that I was like, did the journal mention that it's supposed to be at midnight?
Yeah.
Did the sheets of paper?
There's nothing that the players were told that said it had to be at midnight. We could have tried it at noon.
Yep. So, and I think Christian, I think that would have been a great way to do that, right? Is to have like a mini puzzle in there talking about the ritual and being like, oh, we waited till the moon risen, like and like shined in on like at a certain point. Like that would be a cool way of like writing in there of like not saying it's midnight, but like alluding to doing it at midnight.
Alluding to it.
and
Yeah.
like
The moon is at the highest point in the sky or some shit like.
right.
Boom.
And a very cool thing to breadcrumb into that, right, is like, okay, we went into town, right?
Yeah.
What if so some of the party members went into a shop. As a keeper of arcane lore, you're prepared for that. You could, as they enter, you could make it a thing where they overhear the conversation of like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be a full moon tonight. Like it's gonna be very pretty, It's just like two shopkeepers talking amongst themselves, and like, oh hey, like welcome, things like that. And then that kind of just like at the end would be very rewarding because we like, oh wow, we did, that's right. Like
Yeah.
they did say that. Like we should. It's all within the world, and it's all happening according to the narrative, right?
Yeah. So if you're a keeper watching this and about to run Edge of Darkness, take Christian's advice and throw in that NPC line when they stop in at Ross's Corners. So
Breadcrumb that in there.
breadcrumb that in there. Oh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, like, and that's something I definitely would have like, now playing it through. If I were to play it again, I would do that, right? Like, I would definitely write that in there and know for the future. For a lot of these, for what we've done so far, I try to play it as close to the adventure as possible, just to kind of get that full experience and everything. But I think personally, as a game master, I like to kind of break script a little bit sometimes. So
Sure. Yeah, and ultimately, it's that's definitely afforded to you, and that's part of what makes it fun, right?
yeah,
Your freedom to do that based on the party's decisions, and you make it your own, your group's own game.
yeah. What'd you guys think of the creature, the lurker?
Sufficiently spooky.
Yeah,
I was wondering if we'd ever actually see it, and I was glad that it kind of, because I was kind of worried. I was like, oh, we're just gonna do the exorcism and it's just gonna be easy because we're doing it right. We didn't open the attic door, but it wasn't easy. I mean, I thought that was super interesting that it caused the characters to see stuff. Like Butcher saw his deceased wife and
yeah.
lost his shit.
I love that.
Um,
Great role playing, Christian. Great job.
I did think it was interesting that it's not written that he has to.
Nope. It specifically is like the only thing that happens is you guys are in control of your characters. You can use the psychology roll to see past its disguise, but whatever you want to do is what you do. So, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it felt in the moment that based on my trauma, or something that or Butcher had not gotten through, fully,
Yeah.
fully healed from, it felt right that like, he was a bit compromised there, and he lost, and I rolled poorly, so I was like, like it makes sense for me
This is
to
what he
take
would
this
do.
bait and just kill this homeless man.
Yep.
To hope
Stab Red Jake.
Yeah, that's the monster would like come through and like delivering my wife for some reason, right? But I'm like insane right now, or like being controlled right now, right? So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot we murdered a homeless guy.
Butcher
did.
did. Butcher did.
Butcher did.
I did, or Butcher did, yeah.
It's funny because it actually describes like the lurker as like the lurker may be able to grant some of these whispered bribes, but is unlikely to carry through with its promises. In this capacity, it does fit the classic role of jinn like beings. And then it poses the question: do the investigators listen and accept the bribes, or do they continue on and complete Merryweather's dying wish? So it kind of makes sense that the one guy who didn't hear Merryweather was like the one who kind of broke it, too. So.
Yeah.
So funny enough, you guys, you guys went through the ritual pretty quickly and you were fine. Like we kind of talked about, like nobody really took any damage. That was because like how it's kind of written out. It says like a person can complete the ritual in like 2 hours, and it says like it takes 8 magic points to like do the ritual. So I calculated it out and I was like, okay, if it takes 2 hours to do the ritual, how long would it take? And I decided how I did it, and this is what I did personally. I divided it into 5-minute increments, and I found if 8 points was divided into 5-minute increments over 2 hours, that meant like over 5 minutes, you donated about 1/3 of your magic point for it. And it specifically says in the rule book, like, hey, if more investigators are doing it, then the ritual gets done faster. So that's how I decided to do the round by round thing at the end. And I think if I would have done it again, I think I would have made things happen a bit quicker, because it does say like the first 20 minutes, like nothing happens and then stuff starts happening. And since I was doing it by 5-minute increments and you guys were doing the chant and stuff like that, that meant like half the ritual was done by the 20-minute mark. So, I think I would have stepped things up a little bit than how I did it. I think the round by round, because it doesn't really tell you what to do round by round. It just says like, oh, they do it in 2 hours, but if there's more people doing it, they do it quicker, and it takes 8 magic points and stuff like that, right? But it doesn't break it down round by round. So I did that myself. So I think if I would have done it over again, I probably would have sped things up a little bit to make things more tense for you guys. But once again, the reason why the bear didn't get inside the building, and the reason why the zombie didn't get inside the building, and the reason why you guys were like, I'm just going to keep chanting, it's written this way, I think, because it's a starter set adventure, right?
Yeah.
It's
player,
yeah. Because they specifically say like the things can't get inside if the sigils are there. Like they can try to rip them down, but they're not allowed to go past them. So one of the things I was going to do that the adventure does say is like, oh, have the lurker throw in a dead raccoon and have it run around and do stuff. So I was going to do that, but you guys did the chant really quickly, so I just kind of ended it from there. But which isn't on you guys, that's on me.
Well,
But I would say there's 2 moments that were really close to having you guys die or things go south. And the first one was before you guys went into the basement. I think it was Leo, Justin's character, who wanted to go up into the attic. And let me just tell you, if you go into the attic, you have to do a dodge roll. And if you fail, you take 1d8 plus 1d6 points of damage from the lurker as it like runs over and like attacks your head. And then you take another d3 from falling. Which, if you guys are realizing, that can kill your character right off the bat.
Yeah, in one round.
So so I wasn't sure if you guys were ready to have your characters die. So that's how I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I had Red Jake kind of be like, you're gonna go up there? It's still there, right? And then everybody was like, we're not gonna go up there.
Let's find that chest that they were talking about.
Right.
With all the ritual shit.
The other moment was, specifically it says if there's any combat that happens next to the pentagram, it says call for a luck roll, and if the luck roll fails, then the pentagram breaks and the lurker is set free.
Shit.
And
I
if you remember, when you stabbed Red Jake, when Butcher stabbed Red
You
Jake, I called for
almost.
a luck roll, but I ruled it that since he was on the lurker side, that it didn't. His luck would have been to free the lurker, but he failed it, so it kept the lurker there.
yeah, I remember that roll.
So those were the key moments that I like. Me being the DM
Yeah.
was like, this can go south
What?
really quickly.
All gonna die now.
Yep. Because
I think we got pretty lucky.
yes, yeah, I think so. So I just want to let you guys know, as I'm kind of revealing this curtain, that there was a few moments where things could have been really bad. So, but yeah, Dan, what'd you kind of think of like the lurker and the mystery and everything? What was your kind of thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool, right? Just one monster, that is able to spawn these other monsters and create all this other stuff, and that's just one monster from the mythos, right?
Yeah,
Whereas, I'd love to see like a mystery where there's just like, a couple monsters, right? And you're like, oh God, oh God, oh God, like there's a lot of chaos. And, I went into this kind of expecting my character to die, right? And I think the starter set made it pretty easy,
Yeah.
right? But I could see how even on the starter set, like there's potential to lose it all. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to try a more challenging version of this.
all right.
I agree.
Well, I mean, maybe we'll bring back our characters for another round, and we'll do another one of the adventures. I definitely think with like how everybody's like decked out, I think that the Dead Man Stomp would be a really cool adventure for us to do. But because that takes place in Harlem and kind of like the city, and has like a cool like Cthulhu-esque mystery, which is really interesting. But we'll have to see. Did anybody have any final thoughts before we kind of close out our stream? All right, cool.
Not at the moment. I think overall I enjoyed playing Call of Cthulhu, would play again, would be interested in playing a more complicated version.
Yeah.
So I guess not necessarily like more complicated, but I guess like playing like the game, not just the starter set.
Yeah.
Which is the job that a starter set's supposed to do, right?
Exactly, right? Get you
Yeah.
enticed, makes you want to play the real thing.
I think it was successful in that for sure.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Ashley, do you have the attributions ready for us to kind of
I have a question for you first.
go ahead?
So, as the keeper of arcane lore,
Yeah.
how was your experience running the game compared to other TTRPGs you've run? What would you say to new GMs as
Yep.
they're considering running the game?
I loved it. I loved running the mystery and like having characters on the edge of death is a very thrilling experience. I would say for new keepers, don't get gung ho about killing people.
It'll happen on its own.
It'll happen on its own. It will. Like, I mean, like, our adventure, I think I gave you guys a lot of hints because it was our first time playing, right? Like, I wanted to let you know all the mechanics and things you can do that's written into the adventure. But I think if we return to this, I think I would just let you guys do your own devices, right? Like, training wheels off at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think like at if we were to do like the Dead Man Stomp or whatever, I would just let you guys. Yeah, I would kind of let you own your devices. So I think newer keepers, just let people know everything they can do. I think the biggest thing that most people are challenging, and the reason why Edge of Darkness is written the way it is, right? Just go to the farmhouse and do that, is because most people don't think about doing research, right? If you come from D&D, you don't research the monsters before you go out and fight a beholder, right? Like, you just figure it out as you're fighting it. That's not what you do in Call of Cthulhu. in Call of Cthulhu, like going to the library could be like saving or ending the world, which
No,
sounds
it's powered.
silly. Yeah,
Get
but
your library card, kids.
yeah. So like that's one of the things as I was kind of like exploring and learning stuff is that like having people who are diverse, like a diverse skill set to kind of like cover all the angles is really important, but like also like thinking like it's real life, right? Because it is real life. It's 1920s. Like it may be society set 100 years ago, but a lot of the modern day conveniences are still pretty similar to back then. You can call the police. You can report a crime. You can phone up people across the world and ask for information, which is pretty cool. Um, so my first thing is definitely like give hints to your players of what they can do in this game that they can't do in other games, such as research or other like effects and stuff like that, as kind of like helping them kind of understand how Call of Cthulhu works. I think definitely prepping your players though that their characters may die and probably will die is also very key because a lot of people get very attached to their characters, right? It seemed like everybody here was a very good sport and was ready for their characters to die at any point in time, which is great. I can't say that most people are like that, which is fine. But this is just that type of horror game, right? Um, lastly, Call of Cthulhu has a lot of rules. We talked about it earlier, but like, if you don't know something, don't worry. Just play it out how you think it should be, whatever you think would be the most fun, and then correct it later. Like you don't have to rewrite the rules or history. Like just like do what we did today. Like I explained how the chase rules were in a hypothetical scenario, but like we didn't do it right when we played it, and that's fine. Like Call of Cthulhu has a lot of rules. It's fine. Just like a lot of rules may break down the game, just simplify it and try to play it out how you would. But yeah, those are the main three things I would say is like help them do the research, prep them for when they die, and don't complicate the rules. Just have fun. So, well, yeah. So, good luck, keepers.
Awesome.
Awesome. So, for attributions, we were using the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu starter set. We also were using the online platform Roll20 to play in. And then we created our characters in Hero Forge. So thank you to all three of those resources. They were lovely. Please consider supporting your local game stores and bookstores if you can, if you're interested in getting your own copy of Call of Cthulhu, the starter set, 7th edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do we have any questions in the chat before we sign off?
Let me look. Nope, no questions. Unless they put them before. We've been disconnecting a lot, so we might have lost the questions. If that's the case, we're sorry. Please message us. We'll be back next week. We'll be back next week. We're doing a one-off called Frankenstein's Failed Creations, right, Ashley? I think that's what it's called.
Something like that.
Okay, cool. I'll look up the real name right now. But it is a one-page RPG that we're doing. So we're just gonna play until we feel like it's done. Frankenstein's Failed Experiments. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. So essentially, we're little experiments that Dr. Frankenstein made, and we're breaking out of his lab and getting to it. So join us next week as we play this fun little one-page RPG where we're doing some wacky stuff for Halloween. But other than that, thank you for tuning in for our Call of Cthulhu kind of like chase rules and Edge of Darkness discussion. So we'll see you all next week, and until then, keep on learning. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.